Today I am in the 21 and up Ford F-150. As you can see here, we have this nice leather wrapped steering wheel. It doesn't only look good, it also has a heater built into it. If you are interested in getting a heater in your truck and you want to see how I did this, you're going to want to stick around. I'm going to show you how to install this. All right, so where we're going to start is actually underneath the steering column. You have your knee bolsters here. Go ahead and use my panel tool and pull this lower panel down. As you can see, we have a couple 7 mils hidden underneath here. Let's get these pulled out. And this whole little lower section actually pops free. And now this whole upper part is just held in with retaining clips. Get that pulled free and we can set these aside. All right, next we're gonna actually lower our steering column adjuster and we're gonna pull this all the way out because we have 1, 2, 3 7mm screws we have to pull out from the bottom of our column here. All right, now we can actually pull our steering wheel down, leaving it fully extended outways, and we'll pop the little vinyl section back here right up, held in with some clips. And now our column cover itself will actually pop upways on this upper piece, and then the bottom one will pull down. There we go. All right, now with our column cover removed, I'll actually get into a little bit of detail on how to pull this airbag. There's a couple of spring clips back here, but before I do that, I'm gonna disconnect the negative battery terminal on our truck. That way I don't have to worry about pre-detonating this airbag. And this is a 10mm nut. Let's give that a little wiggle and we'll get that set aside there. That's all we have to do. Now we're pretty safe inside to pull that airbag. All right, so we got the battery disconnected so that way you're not honking out your neighbors. But inside the truck, I'm gonna spin the wheel and you can see this opening right here. You actually have to get in there with a flathead or a pick or something. There's a little bar in here that you're gonna push down and pull out on the airbag. There you go. It should be pretty easy once you find that little clip. I'm gonna keep outward pressure on this airbag just so it doesn't re-clip itself. I'll spin the wheel to the other side. Here, you can see, there's the other one. Oh, the other one clipped itself back in. Ah, there you go. All right, let me try that one more time. There we go. Once you have both unclipped, you can see airbag is pulled free. All right, so you can see on the side of our steering wheel, this is actually what I was sticking my screwdriver into and just pressing that down. With that being depressed, you just pull straight back and that frees it from the clips that's in there. But you got one on both sides, which makes it a little tough because you got to keep pressure on there. But once it's off, you have your airbag connectors here. These have a little orange security lock right in the center. There you go. Just get your flathead and you can pop those straight up. Just like that. And that will allow you to pull these straight back. And then you have this other red connector right on the side right here, which we'll use our little flathead again. And actually, you can slide this whole thing up out of there's a little tab in here, give you a little bit more room to work with, but you can see what kind of lock you're dealing with. It's one of those, you lift it up, and here's your airbag. Now we can set this aside and work on getting our steering wheel removed. All right, now with our airbag removed, we have right in the center this giant T55 torque screw. Some of you may have a T50, others may have a T55. Either way, it's a pretty big size. So we do have to remove this. And right above it is one more plug. This is plugged in to our clock spring that's back there. We're gonna change that clock spring out also. But we'll go ahead and unplug that and then we'll remove this. Very big Torx bolt that we'll reuse. Now with that removed, let's kind of wiggle our steering wheel back, and as you can see, the airbag wires are connected to our clock spring. So I'll just gently push those through. All right, we'll set this aside. All right, so when you have your steering wheel out, if you notice that your steering wheel controls are not exactly like the ones that we sent you on the replacement steering wheel, if you don't have adaptive cruise or lane keep and it just doesn't match the left side steering wheel controls, you are gonna have to swap in your original steering wheel controls into the new steering wheel. And that's a pretty easy process. Right there and there, we have two T20 Torx screws that need to be pulled out. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And once you have those out, this whole plastic trim pulls straight back. Just like that. On either side, you have little clip connectors. You can go ahead and remove. And this red one is actually slid onto this little bracket here. You can just pull that right off. That'll get your whole plastic trim and controls out. And the only one that we need to pull is the one that's on the left side of the steering wheel. That is held in with 3 T8 Torx screws. These are a little weird size. If you have a T8 bit, more power to you. If you don't, you're gonna have to get one if your steering wheel controls do not match. And that's how simple it is. Once you have it out, you're just gonna swap your original one into it and reassemble basically the reverse of what we just did. All right, and then once you have that all set up, you can go ahead and move forward with the rest of the installation. The clock spring itself, this thing spins freely, as you can see. You don't want to spin this at all. You want this to kind of stay in this upright position because you can damage it if you start to spin it around. Also, right where this hex is, where our Torx screw screwed into, there's a notch or a little groove cut into the top of it. That's how you know what's up. So when we get into all of this stuff, putting it back together, you want to make sure that your wheel didn't move, nothing kind of moved around, and that the notch is aiming upwards. All right, so now with our wheel out of the way, we can go ahead and pull our clock spring out. And before I get into that, I'm going to pull our new clock spring over. You can see we have this plastic lock here that keeps this from spinning, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently press this little button in the center, pull that plastic lock out. Now, I'm not going to spin this or move its orientation. I'm going to keep it just like that. Set it right up here. And I'm going to take this lock, I'm going to line up these grooves right here, and I'm going to clip this one together. That way this doesn't move around. Just in case you need to reuse this in the future, you have this as a good working port, or you can sell these. And we have our connector on the bottom right, and there's another one right behind it. Right there. And then right below or attached to that cable, you have a Christmas tree. You can just push that out. The next step is removing the Torx screws. These are T25 Torx screws, and we have 4 of them. I may not be able to get that out of there, which is fine. We'll work on the next one. Basically at every corner. Yeah, those 2 at the bottom are gonna be kind of fighters. But once you have that off, there's a couple of sections that are actually clipped around this metal housing back here. I'll show you. These 2 clips just kind of hang right over that metal edge. So now with it off, take my screws out. We won't need to use this anymore, but we are reusing these screws. We can grab our new clock spring. Now from here, if you do not have power tilt from the factory, you are going to have to remove this so that your column shroud will fit over here. This is held in with 2 T10 Torx screws. I'll go ahead and pull these out because ours is a manual adjuster for that column. Once you have it out, it just slides right out. It's one of those connectorless buttons where it actually has pins attached to it. So by pushing it in there, it makes a connection. Once it's pulled out, you won't have to worry about it. It'll just never be used. So now we can take our new clock spring and once you have it set into place, it'll click over that metal edge back here and it'll kind of just hold itself up. Now we can throw those Torx screws back in there. Now we'll plug the original connectors back in, one on the side and one in the back. go. And we have one more connector that is empty behind this clock spring. That is what we include. This is going to be the power feed for your heated steering wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and get this plugged in also. All right, now with this wire plugged in, I'm going to go ahead and feed this straight back. I'm not going to actually run it just yet. I'm going to get everything put back together up here, whole steering wheel assembled, and then we'll continue on with the wiring. This does run over to the passenger side floorboard. So just tuck that back there, and I am going to zip tie the wire along with our factory wiring up in here so everything stays nice and tidy. All right, so before we go ahead and put the steering wheel back on, I'm actually gonna put the plastic column cover back on, this column shroud, just because it's a little easier to work with. That bottom one just snaps into place. The top one actually has these round, almost wheel-shaped grooves in the back of it that'll sit into the lower shroud, kind of like a joint. So I like to snap that into place first, and then you should be able to just smush them together. There we go. Nice and tight. I'll throw the vinyl cover back on up top, just snaps into place. All right, now I can put the 3 7mm screws back in on the bottom, and then we'll go ahead and reinstall our steering wheel. All right, all that's left is to slide our steering wheel over. What I'm gonna do is feed the airbag wires through the opening in the steering wheel, just like we pulled it out before. Remember, don't move that clock spring around too much. And there's a couple alignment pins on that clock spring that you'll just kind of get lined up, and then you can press your wheel back over the shaft. And you can see there's a notch on the steering wheel and on that steering shaft, that threaded portion, and you just line those up and you'll be good to go. You can also see you have an extra connector on this steering wheel. This is for the heated steering wheel, and this part on the clock spring right down here has the connector. That on the original one doesn't have pins. This one does. That's what allows this to work. So we'll make sure we plug that in right there. Just like that. We'll put that large T55 Torx bolt back in. Then lastly, we'll grab our airbag and clip that back into place. All right, so we'll start with the red connector, and this is our horn switch right off to the side down here. And we have the 2 color-coded connectors for the airbag. This will only go in one way, don't force it. There's actually a key to that connector. So these going in a weird positions, kind of upside down. May be a little hard for you to see. But once you have these back into place, push those orange locks back down to keep it from popping out. Good to go. Make sure the forward is aiming up. And push your airbag back into place. Now this is one of those points, if you didn't disconnect your battery, you'd be honking quite obnoxiously. Let's jump underneath the dash and get that wire ran to the passenger side. Behind our kick panel here is the computer for the vehicle. We need to tap into here. So in order to access that, I'm gonna pull up the side sill plate. And then at the front of this kick panel, there's actually a smaller panel. This is the fuse panel cover. So this pulls inwards and then forward. Now to actually get the kick panel portion off, it is layered underneath this side dash piece. So what I'm gonna do is pull up the weather stripping right here. That'll make just pulling these panels out a lot easier. Then I'm gonna pull this side panel off. There's just a bunch of clips holding this on. Set that aside, and then you can see this top portion right here was actually layered behind the side dash piece. And there's a clip back here, so that kind of makes it hard to pop that clip off right there. Then you have another clip section at the bottom, and there's one right in the middle, and then this whole piece comes off. You can set that aside, and here you can see the side of our fuse panel, and right up here is where we need to access to pin that wire. All right, so the easiest way I found to get that wire over to the passenger side is actually starting on the passenger side. Underneath your glove box, you have this kind of fabric panel down here, and to the side of it, you have your dash cover. This lower portion of your dash just unsnaps, pulling towards you, and this cover kind of pulls down. Once you get this all moved out of the way, there's actually a gap right here that you can take a fish wire or a long zip tie like I have, and you can just run this over to the driver's side floorboard. Should go pretty easily, and once you have most of it in there, you can leave some length on this side. I'm going to go ahead and tape our wire to the other end and just pull it through. All right, now you can see behind our gas pedal down here, our zip tie made it through pretty easily. I'm going to pull that to the front, and I have my wire here. Just going to loop it a little bit, and I'm going to throw some tape on here and just pull this through to the other side. Remember, leave yourself a little flag here so you can pull this off fairly easy when you get it to the other side. And get this started a little bit. All right, let's jump over to the other side and pull this slack all out of there. Now, what you want to do after you get this wire over to the passenger side is you want to make sure that the slack didn't get caught up in your gas pedal or wrapped around something weird down there that's going to obstruct your driving ability. But if it's all good and nothing is caught up, you can just continue running your wire over to your body computer. And then I'll pull the floor back. This truck does have a vinyl floor, but same thing if you got carpet. Tucked. All right, with our wire over to this side, I'm going to go ahead and snap back that dash panel. All right, so the plug that we're interested in is all the way at the bottom, this black plug with the white little lock here. You need to press right in the center. There's a push button pin that you're going to press down, and then that lock up top can slide open. So it's kind of a 2-finger action that you got to do with it. But once you get that lock slid open, it'll push itself out. You will have a zip tie on the back side holding the wires on there. You don't necessarily need to cut that zip tie, but you can if you find it's making your life a little harder. I'm going to leave it on there. I'm going to pop the top side of this cover out, kind of hinges out, and I will get this opened up to show you where we need to pin. Okay, once you have that open and pulled to the side, you're going to look at the rows here. You have the smaller, tighter sections of connectors up top. The bottom, you have the larger spaced openings for those connectors. The one that you're looking for is pretty much kind of right in the center. So what we're interested in is pin number 15. So if starting from the left, you have 13, 14, 15, 16. There's a blue, white, and a white right here. It's going to be in between those two. That's the pin that you're concerned with. So what I'm going to do is run my wire in between that zip tie, so I'm not going to cut it. There we go. And basically I need to fish this into that opening, but it's not going to click into place until I remove the lock off of the front of this. This little red cover right here pops up. Got a little flathead. Let's pull this out just a little bit. And then I will push my connector in there, and don't force it. If it doesn't go in, flip it around, try the other way. You should hear a click just like that. We'll go ahead and put the lock back on. All right, our wire is nice and secure. I'm gonna go ahead and slide this back up and snap it back together. And that's kind of what you're gonna end up with. Basically, you're adding a wire that was missing from that circuit. We'll get this pushed into place. And when you're reconnecting this plug here, you want to make sure that that lever is all the way in the open position. If it's up here, you're not going to be able to push it down. As you push it down, you should see it start to move, and you can just push it over the rest of the way. That'll lock it in place. Now with the other end of your wire here, you do have a ring terminal. We're going to attach this to the factory ground location, which is a 13mm or 1/2" bolt right here on the side of your kick panel. Go ahead and remove that. All right, and the remainder of the wire, all this extra slack, you can coil up and just tuck out of the way here. You can throw a zip tie on there if it makes you feel better. But that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and reinstall all of the panels that we removed, including the one on the driver's side underneath the steering wheel, our knee bolster. Then we can reconnect our battery terminal. And lastly, we'll have to run our Genie programmer to get the vehicle configured for that steering wheel. All right, let's get started. All right, now we're ready to reconnect our negative battery terminal. All right, let's close up the hood and we can run our programmer and then test out our new steering wheel. All right, we'll go ahead and turn the ignition to the on position. We'll give it a few seconds just to kind of acclimate itself. And once everything kind of turns on, all your little warnings go away, we'll go ahead and run our Genie programmer. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna wait for a green light, and that shows us that we have been programmed. We can unplug that. Let's give it an ignition cycle. All right, now we can test out our heated steering wheel. All right, so we went ahead and started the truck. Your steering wheel will not work with the car in the run position. It has to be running. That's because this will just drain down your battery pretty quickly, keeping that heating element heated up. So what our Genie programmer did is it enabled the climate screen to show up with this steering wheel icon. That'll allow you to activate the heated steering element in your wheel. This will work on the 12-inch and 8-inch screens from the factory. So if you have either one, that'll show up on your screen. And this steering wheel is getting nice and warm. So this is perfect for the winter months, which were right upon us right now. Yeah, it feels nice and warm. The other nice thing about this wheel is it is a leather stitch steering wheel, so it feels nice. Not only the heat, but the actual feel of the wheel feels very premium. But yeah, this is just a nice feeling, warm steering wheel.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that upgrade just as much as we enjoyed developing it. We were here established in 2008, and we've been helping over 100,000 customers do upgrades to their vehicle. So we carry this upgrade and so much more on our website, Infotainment.com. We service what we sell. We have a whole staff that services parts all day long. We also have in-house advisors that can advise you and help you from start to finish. We also have a compatibility guarantee. As I mentioned in the video, we will get your 17-digit VIN number to ensure that everything is programmed to the modules for a seamless installation in your exact vehicle. We also have extended warranties for those of you who would like to take advantage of that. Those of you who pulled out your old gear and you don't want it just to sit in your garage forever, we actually offer trade-in value to your old gear. So be sure to go to our website for more information on that. Last but not least, if you have a request for your vehicle, you want a factory OEM upgrade for your vehicle and you don't see it on our website, we have a product request form that our research and development department looks at every single day. So request that product and we'll get back with you with a possible solution. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and have a great day.